Welcome back to our channel HD Ultra Rare Coins. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. The Elizabeth II 2 pence coin of 2002 entered circulation without ceremony, without celebration, and without any hint of the extraordinary journey it would one day take. For most people, this coin was ordinary. It jingled in pockets, slid across shop counters, and disappeared into cash registers. Children spent it on sweets, commuters dropped it into fare machines, and shopkeepers counted it without a second glance. Yet history often hides its most fascinating stories inside the most unassuming objects. What collectors would later discover is that this 2 pence coin carried more than just copper and steel. It carried a moment in time, a symbol of a nation, and a rarity that would transform it into a treasure beyond imagination. The year 2002 was significant for the United Kingdom. Queen Elizabeth II had already reigned for 5 decades, becoming a living bridge between the old world and the new. Her portrait on British coinage had evolved over the years, reflecting not only her age but also the changing artistic styles and values of each era. By 2002, her effigy represented experience, stability, and continuity. To many, it was reassuring. To collectors, it was iconic. The obverse of the 2 pence 2002 coin features the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II created by Ian Rank Broadley. This design is admired for its realism and dignity. The Queen's expression is calm yet authoritative, her crown finely detailed, every line carefully engraved. Around her portrait runs the Latin inscription, a timeless reminder of Britain's constitutional monarchy. At first glance, it appears like millions of other coins. But seasoned collectors know that perfection often hides in details too small for the casual eye. Turn the coin over, and the reverse reveals the famous Prince of Wales feathers, a design deeply rooted in British royal tradition. The feathers, crowned and bound with a ribbon, symbolize heritage and monarchy. The words, 2 pence, sit proudly beneath, with the year 2002 anchoring the coin firmly in its historical moment. The design feels traditional, almost comforting, especially during a time when the world was rapidly changing. The 2 pence coin is made primarily of copper-plated steel, a shift that had taken place in the 1990s to reduce minting costs. By 2002, this composition was standard, but it introduced a fascinating element for collectors. Differences in metal bonding, weight, and magnetic response created opportunities for minting anomalies. And as history has shown time and again, anomalies are where legends are born. The Royal Mint produced millions of 2 pence coins in 2002 to meet everyday demand. These coins were struck with incredible speed and efficiency. But when production reaches such massive numbers, perfection becomes difficult. Tiny errors can slip through. A misaligned die. An incorrect metal planchet. A missing inscription. At the time, these flaws were invisible to the public. But years later they would become the very reason collectors would compete fiercely to own one. As the coins circulated, Britain itself was evolving. The pound was holding strong, cash was still king, and few imagined a future dominated by digital payments. Coins were personal. They passed through countless lives, silently witnessing moments of joy, struggle, and routine. Some 2 pence coins from 2002 survived in remarkable condition, tucked away in jars, drawers, and forgotten purses. Others endured years of wear, telling their own stories through scratches and patina. It wasn't until much later that whispers began circulating in the collector community. Reports emerged of unusual 2002 2 pence coins displaying rare characteristics. Some were struck off-center. Others showed doubling in the Queen's portrait. A few displayed missing or incomplete inscriptions. These were not widespread errors, but extremely limited occurrences, possibly created during brief interruptions or adjustments at the Royal Mint. Collectors know that rarity alone is not enough. A coin must also carry historical relevance, strong demand, and an emotional connection. The Elizabeth II 2 pence 2002 had all three. It represented a modern era, a beloved monarch, and a time when physical currency still connected people. As interest grew, so did prices. What once cost 2 pennies began selling for hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands at auctions. Online forums buzzed with speculation. Coin experts examined photographs under magnification. Auction houses began verifying specimens. Each confirmed rare example added fuel to the growing legend. The coin was no longer just currency. It was a symbol of modern numismatic discovery, proof that even recent coins could achieve extraordinary value. Condition became everything. Coins graded in near-perfect or mint-state condition commanded astronomical prices. Collectors sought untouched examples, free from circulation marks, with original luster intact. A flawless 2002 2-pence coin with a verified minting error became the holy grail for modern British collectors. The story took an even more dramatic turn when private collectors began competing with museums. Institutions wanted these coins not just for their value, but for what they represented, a rare modern artifact from the reign of Britain's longest-serving monarch. Ownership became a matter of prestige. To possess one was to own a piece of contemporary history. At auctions, tension filled the room. Bidding wars erupted. Numbers climbed higher with every raised paddle. What began as curiosity turned into obsession. The 2-pence 2002 coin became proof that modern coins could rival ancient gold in desirability. And unlike medieval treasures, this coin had once lived in everyday pockets, making its transformation even more astonishing. Collectors from around the world joined the chase. From Europe to Asia, from America to the Middle East, the demand exploded. Online marketplaces reported record searches. Social media buzzed with videos and discussions. Everyone wanted to know if they might still have one hidden away. People began checking old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten purses, hoping for a miracle. Top 2. We explore those hidden stories, and today's journey takes us to a seemingly simple copper coin that many people still overlook, the United Kingdom Elizabeth II 2-pence coin of 2007. At first glance, the 2007 2-pence looks familiar, even boring, to the untrained eye. It feels light, warm with its copper-coated steel surface, and carries a design that most Britons grew up seeing every day. But history has a clever way of disguising its most fascinating moments inside ordinary objects. The year 2007 was not just another year on the calendar. It was a moment of transition, reflection, and quiet significance for Britain, its monarchy, and its currency. By 2007, Queen Elizabeth II had already reigned for more than 5 decades. Her portrait on British coinage had become one of the most recognized images on Earth. The 2-pence coin issued during this year bears the 4th definitive portrait of the Queen, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. This portrait shows a mature monarch with a calm, dignified expression, wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Every line in the engraving reflects stability, experience, and continuity, qualities that defined her reign. The inscription surrounding the Queen's portrait reads like a formal introduction frozen in metal, connecting modern Britain to centuries of tradition. This was a time when the monarchy symbolized reassurance in a rapidly changing world. Technology was advancing fast, economies were shifting, and yet the face on the coin remained steady and familiar. Turning the coin over reveals the iconic Prince of Wales's feathers design, a reverse that had been used on the 2-pence coin since decimalization in 1971. 3 ostrich feathers rise from a coronet, crowned above by a small crown, with the words 2 pence below. By 2007, this design was nearing the end of its long life. Just 1 year later, in 2008, the Royal Mint would introduce the revolutionary Royal Shield reverse, changing British coinage forever. That fact alone gives the 2007 2-pence a special place in history. It represents the final chapter of a design era that lasted more than 3 decades. Coins from this period are the last echoes of a visual identity that generations associated with British money. Collectors often describe such coins as the calm before the storm, quietly minted just before a major transformation. The minting process of the 2007 2-pence coin reflects the Royal Mint's dedication to precision and efficiency. By this time, the coin was produced using copper-plated steel, a change introduced in the early 1990s to reduce costs while maintaining the familiar appearance of copper coins. The coin has a diameter of 25.9 millimeters and weighs 7.12 grams, with a plain edge that feels smooth yet solid between the fingers. Millions of these coins were struck for circulation, and most entered everyday use immediately. Children received them as pocket money, shopkeepers counted them at closing time, and commuters dropped them into fare machines without hesitation. But within such massive production runs, subtle variations can occur. It is in these tiny differences, often invisible to casual users, that collectors find excitement. Over time, specialists began identifying rare anomalies in certain 2007 2-pence coins. Some featured die alignment issues, while others showed unusual plating characteristics or striking errors caused by momentary disruptions in the minting process. These errors were never intended to leave the mint, yet a small number escaped into circulation, unnoticed for years. Collectors know that error coins are like fingerprints, each one unique. When combined with a historically significant year, their desirability multiplies. The 2007 2-pence exists at a crossroads, the final years of a classic reverse design and the mature reign of one of the longest-serving monarchs in history. As interest in modern British coins grew globally, collectors outside the UK began paying closer attention to pieces like the 2007 2-pence. What was once dismissed as too modern suddenly gained respect. Online auctions, private sales, and collector forums buzzed with discussions about rare finds in everyday change. Stories began circulating of people discovering unusual 2-pence coins in old jars, inherited collections, or even supermarket change. What makes the 2007 2-pence particularly attractive to collectors is its emotional connection. It represents a Britain just before major change. Within a few years, the financial crisis would reshape economies, coin designs would evolve, and eventually, the nation would say goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II herself. Coins like this one became quiet time capsules, holding memories of stability and familiarity. On HD ultra rare coins, we often say that value is not just about metal, it's about meaning. The 2007 2-pence carries meaning layered in history, design, and timing. For high-end collectors, the most desirable examples are those in exceptional condition, especially uncirculated specimens preserved from the moment they left the mint. Even more sought after are rare error versions authenticated by professional grading services. In elite numismatic circles, a handful of extraordinary 2007 2-pence coins have achieved legendary status. These include coins struck on incorrect blanks, pieces with dramatic off-center strikes, and ultra-rare minting anomalies that defy normal production standards. When such coins surface, they do not stay on the market for long. Private collectors, museums, and investment groups compete fiercely for these rarities. For them, owning such a coin is not just about possession, it is about securing a piece of British monetary history that can never be recreated. No matter how advanced technology becomes, the exact circumstances that produced those rare 2007 anomalies will never happen again. As years passed, prices climbed quietly. While ordinary circulated examples remained common, the rarest versions began commanding astonishing figures behind closed doors. Auction houses whispered about record-breaking private sales, while collectors watched values rise with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Imagine holding a coin that once bought a newspaper or a loaf of bread, now recognized as one of the rarest modern British 2-pence pieces ever discovered. That contrast is what fascinates collectors the most, the transformation from everyday object to priceless artifact. And now comes the moment that makes this story unforgettable. Among the rarest known examples of the United Kingdom, Elizabeth II 2-pence 2007, one exceptional specimen, featuring an extraordinary minting error, flawless preservation, and verified provenance, has been valued by top collectors and private buyers at an astonishing $16 million. Top 3. We're uncovering a story that proves even the smallest coin can carry a massive secret. This is the story of the United Kingdom Elizabeth II 2-pence 2005, a coin many people have touched, spent, or ignored, never realizing it could be worth a fortune. The year 2005 was an interesting moment in British history. The United Kingdom was standing at the crossroads between tradition and modernization. Queen Elizabeth II had already reigned for over 5 decades, becoming a symbol of stability in a rapidly changing world. Technology was accelerating, global connections were growing stronger, and yet the royal mint continued a centuries-old tradition, striking coins that told the nation's story in metal. Among those coins was the 2-pence piece, a denomination so common that few people ever imagined it would become extraordinary. At first glance, the 2005 2-pence coin appears familiar. It feels ordinary in the hand, lightweight, modest, and unassuming. Millions were produced, intended for everyday use in shops, buses, and vending machines across the country. People dropped them into charity boxes, lost them under car seats, or tossed them into drawers without a second thought. But history has a habit of turning ordinary objects into extraordinary artifacts, and this coin would be no exception. The obverse of the coin features the dignified portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. This effigy marked a significant era in British coinage. Unlike earlier portraits, this one presented the Queen with a realistic and mature appearance, reflecting wisdom, experience, and authority. Her gaze faces to the right, calm and composed, as if watching history unfold. Surrounding her portrait is the Latin inscription declaring her as Queen, a timeless reminder of Britain's monarchy and continuity. The reverse design carries the iconic Prince of Wales feathers, crowned and surrounded by a chain bearing the German motto, Ich diene, meaning, I serve. This design has deep historical roots, symbolizing duty, service, and royal heritage. On the 2-pence coin, the feathers appear bold and confident, a visual anchor linking modern Britain to its medieval past. In 2005, this design was still part of the classic coinage system, just before the Royal Mint would later introduce the dramatic shield redesign in 2008. The coin itself is made of copper-plated steel, a change that reflected economic efficiency while maintaining the familiar appearance collectors and citizens expected. The smooth edge, the warm copper tone, and the solid feel all contributed to its everyday usability. Yet within this standard production, subtle variations began to appear, variations that only the sharpest eyes would ever notice. As coins rolled off the presses at the Royal Mint, a few pieces emerged with unusual characteristics. Tiny alignment differences, striking anomalies, and rare die variations slipped quietly into circulation. These were not intentional masterpieces. They were accidents of history, moments where machinery, timing, and human oversight intersected. And as every serious collector knows, it's precisely these imperfections that can transform a coin into a legend. Over time, collectors began to notice that certain 2005 2-pence coins didn't quite match the rest. Some displayed unusual spacing in the lettering. Others showed subtle differences in the feathers detail. In extremely rare cases, minting errors such as off-center strikes, double details, or planchet irregularities appeared. At first, these coins were curiosities, traded quietly among specialists who understood their significance. As years passed, demand began to grow. The world of coin collecting expanded beyond traditional hobbyists. Investors, historians, and even celebrities started paying attention to rare modern coins, especially those tied to Queen Elizabeth II's long and historic reign. The 2005 2-pence coin slowly gained recognition as a sleeper rarity, something hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. What made this coin even more fascinating was its timing. It represented one of the final chapters before Britain's coinage underwent a major visual transformation. This gave the 2005 2-pence a unique position in numismatic history, bridging the classic designs of the past with the bold modern era that followed. Collectors love transition points, and this coin sits perfectly at one of them. Stories began circulating within collector circles. Someone finds a strange 2-pence coin in their change. Another uncovers one in a childhood collection. A third discovers an error piece tucked away in a roll of coins purchased decades earlier. Each story adds to the mystique, reinforcing the idea that treasure doesn't always come from ancient times, it can come from your own pocket. Condition plays a critical role in the coin's value. While most circulated examples remain worth face value, pristine uncirculated specimens, especially those preserved directly from mint rolls, began commanding serious attention. Add a confirmed rare error or variety, and the value could skyrocket. Professional grading services stepped in, encapsulating and certifying the finest examples, giving collectors confidence and driving competition. Auction houses started noticing the trend. What once would have been dismissed as spare change now attracted fierce bidding wars. Collectors from the UK, Europe, the United States, and Asia all wanted a piece of this quiet legend. The combination of royal history, modern rarity, and the thrill of discovery made the Elizabeth II Two Pence 2005 irresistible. Beyond its financial appeal, the coin tells a deeper story. It represents a moment in everyday British life, a time when cash was still king, when coins passed through countless hands each day. It's a reminder that history isn't always locked away in museums. Sometimes it jingles in your pocket. For viewers of HD ultra-rare coins, this is the kind of story that captures imagination. It encourages people to look again, to examine what they've always taken for granted. How many of these coins are still out there, unnoticed? How many have already been spent, lost, or melted down without anyone realizing their potential? As Queen Elizabeth II's reign eventually came to an end, coins bearing her image took on even greater significance. They became symbols of an era, tangible connections to a monarch who shaped decades of global history. Among them, the 2005 Two Pence stands out not for its beauty alone, but for its hidden power.